Happy Wednesday evening to everybody. It's good to see you. We've got a few people here already. That's awesome. And there's a thumbs up. Hey, if you can give me just a comment in the live chat window just to see if it's working, if I actually got all the settings correct this week. It was wonderful the first week, didn't work the second week, and then hopefully we're back on for it working this week. We'll find out. So if you can just put a comment there, that would be amazingly helpful for me so I know that it's working. Also, if it is working or not, either way, you can send me a question. Hey, there it is. Outstanding. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. You can also send questions through Class Dojo if you either would prefer to do that, if you're not able to access live chat from YouTube, or if you're watching this later, you can send me questions through the messaging in Class Dojo. I feel like we need a theme song of some sort. Maybe we'll do the Kennedy song next week. I've got my guitar right over there. So I want to go through just a few talking points for today. It should not be a very long video. Again, if you've got any sort of a question, put it in the chat, and then I'll address that as they come up. So our second week of the Learning Grid, the second official week. We don't count the soft start, really. How's it going? First off, just want to check in. I've had some really great questions from questions. I've had some great questions from parents and from students. We had our Zoom class yesterday, and I think we were only missing, 6 students overall across the 3 sessions. That was such a great turnout. Having people actually have Chromebooks now helps so much. So I'm so glad that y'all went to pick those up last week. You got them logged in and ready to go. And we had such a wonderful turnout for the Zoom class yesterday. I mentioned to all 3 classes yesterday during the Zoom session that next week I'm going to start using Google Meet instead of Zoom. Even though we're using a password with our Zoom sessions, I think it's just, it's good to stay kind of within our school district Google network and universe, and Google Meet connects directly to Google Classroom now. So what I'll do next week, I'll send instructions on how to connect. But basically, students will go to Google Classroom on Tuesday morning, and there'll be a link right there that they can click and then join their session. It should work really well. And if not, we can always go back to Zoom. So the learning goals, I just want to do a quick clarification. I had a couple of parents just asking. So there are, at this point, 3 different columns in the academic section, that first page. There's the ELA, which is English Language Arts. And then there's the math in the middle. And then over on the right-hand side, there is the social studies and science. And there's an offline and an online option for each of those. And your student only needs to choose one from each of those categories. Now, if you read the directions on each one, some of them might have practice that they do several times through the week. So just because they choose, let's say the ELA online assignment, that doesn't mean it's just a one-time thing. There would be some practice throughout the week. So just read those directions carefully. Something that we will always try to do is to make sure that there is an assignment in Google Classroom that goes directly with the assignment on the Learning Grid. We didn't do that for the offline social studies and science this week or last week, but we will do that next week. So everything you see on the Learning Grid, there's going to be an assignment on Google Classroom that corresponds with that. We are using direction from the Oregon Department of Education to have our primary focus be on English Language Arts, that's reading and writing, and math. We will still have science and health and music and PE on that Learning Grid. And so, we're still wanting students to do that like they have been, but we're going to be kind of beefing up the math and the English part of it a little bit more. And so next week, for instance, we're going to be focusing on math with fractions. We're going to be bringing fractions in. Now, we have looked at fractions throughout the school year in 3rd grade, but we're going to kind of focus on that for the next few weeks so we can make sure that by the end of 3rd grade, they've covered a lot of good fraction work. So look for that coming up on the week 3 Learning Grid. And the reading assignment will be also on ReadWorks for the online portion like we have the last couple of weeks. So that basically will look the same. Now, in Google Classroom, I want to, again, like I said, there's an assignment for every single Learning Grid item in Google Classroom, and we're trying to use the same title. So if it says ELA Online, ReadWorks, The Big Hike on the Learning Grid, then you're going to look in Google Classroom for that same title. It should say ELA Online, ReadWorks, The Big Hike. And that way you know that if this is what you did on the Learning Grid, then you're going to find the same assignment in Classroom and complete it there. Also, I want to talk about attendance. So we are, again, using the Oregon Department of Education guidelines for our school district. We are required to have 2 points of contact per week for students to be counted as present. Now, if you happen to sit in or listen in on our Zoom classes yesterday, I did attendance. I would say the student's name and they'd say Cosand. And I like that because it makes me feel like we're back in the classroom. But we actually legally are required to have 2 points of contact throughout the course of the week in order for it to be counted as present during class. Now, what does that look like? The Zoom class counts as 1 point of contact. So I have an attendance sheet that all of the teachers are using. And I just put a check mark there for your student if they are able to come to the Zoom class. Every time they turn in an assignment or they send me a message, or even when the parent sends me a message on behalf of the student, that counts as a contact point. So for instance, if your student is meeting me in the Zoom class on Tuesday and they turn in 4 assignments throughout the course of the week through Google Classroom, and you send me a message asking a clarifying question, then that would be 5 different contact points. So you are in great shape. So don't worry about attendances if you're doing assignments and turning them in and your kiddo is able to join me for the Zoom class. But just want to let you know how attendance works. And that'll be part of the report card too. Yesterday during the Zoom class, I had a student who asked, Brandon was asking, what's the report card going to look like this time? And honestly, I'm not completely sure. But like I said, the focus is definitely heavily weighted towards English language arts and math, and then of course the attendance to show that your student is participating in online learning. Now, I want to also talk about how to turn assignments in. In Google Classroom, there are 2 parts to that assignment. And I talked about this on Monday morning in the Class Dojo video. But the way that looks is when your student does an assignment on the learning grid, they will go to Google Classroom, find the correlating assignment. So if it's ELA, online, ReadWorks, The Big Hike, they'll find that assignment. They'll follow the directions on the assignment and click submit or turn in or mark as done. And that kind of depends on the assignment, what it's going to say on your student's computer, but it's either going to be submit, turn in, mark as done. It'll be one of those 3 or something like that. So until they click that button and get the little confirmation saying it's turned in, and sometimes it'll have 2 screens, like there'll be the turn in button and there'll be another pop-up that says, are you sure you want to turn this in? You have to click turn in there too. That's how I know that the assignment was done. That counts as a contact point for attendance. And then at the very end of the week, I'm going to put a survey, a Google form survey. It's going to be called the Learning Grid, the Week 2 Learning Grid Response. And it's a Google form. And the students will go through and click off all of the assignments they did through the week. So that, like I said in the meeting on Monday, the video on Monday, I had about 16, 17 students who turned that response form in at the end of last week, but I didn't have nearly as many assignments turned in on Google Classroom. So if you're marking on that form on Friday that the student did the work, then make sure that the assignment's also turned in. So that way I know where to find the assignment. Okay. And if you've got any questions about that, I'm checking Dojo here. It looks like we're still doing okay. Nothing coming up in the chat. So either you guys are really just know exactly how this is working, which I think is the case, or I just explained it so beautifully. Who knows? Maybe both. So once again, that response form, I will post it Thursday night. So on Friday, your student will go through and fill that out after they have completed and turned in their assignments. It's not a planner where you're saying, well, I plan on doing these assignments, submit. It's going to be more of an after the fact. I did these assignments, I turned these assignments in, and here's my, my log of that, my record of that. All right, there's also been a question about how do you upload an assignment. So let's say that your student does one of the offline assignments or projects, and you want to be able to make sure that I get that and I'm able to give the student credit for it. Up until now, parents typically have taken a photo and sent me a photo through Class Dojo. That totally works fine, but I really love the idea of our kids being kind of in charge of their own learning and in charge of keeping track of these things. I think that's a good maturity goal. So I made a video, kind of a screencasting tutorial video for how to upload a file to Google Classroom. And so that is in Google Classroom on the stream there. So if your student, even right now, on their Chromebook goes to Google Classroom and looks in the stream, that's that first column there, you're going to see the Mr. Cosand posted a video, and it says how to upload documents to, or how to upload files to Google Classroom. And it's about a 3.5-minute video that walks you through the entire process. So I've got a question coming in from Cora's mom. Let me see. How do we turn in PE and health assignments? Do we need to send a picture? I want to make this as easy for everyone as possible. So if you send me a message that your kiddo's been riding bikes all week long, or they went for a walk with the family, or they've been doing jumping jacks in the living room, whatever it happens to be, just send me a note about that, and I will count that as a PE completion. Then the other part of that too is on that form that comes out on Friday or Thursday night. There's a place there for you to mark that they did the health, they did the art, they did the, now I say they, I really want your student to be filling that form out. So there's a place at the very end of that form for your student to say, yes, I did online PE, I did offline health, I did offline music, and I did online art, whatever it happens to be. Oh, hey, we've got the Rodriguez girls in the house, and Liam, hey guys. Okay, so Elizabeth, Sophia's mom asked, should we send that to the PE teacher or to me? Mr. Alonso has about 600 Kennedy students that he's preparing lessons for. And so if he has responses from all of those students coming in each week, that is a lot to sort through. And he knows all your kids, but he doesn't necessarily always know the name and which class it goes with. So send that stuff to me. It just is easier. Like I said, if you want to just send it through Class Dojo, just a little note. Now, if you want to send a video, if you want to show me your kiddo doing 100 sit-ups or a wall sit for 2 minutes or whatever it happens to be, I would love to see that. That's awesome. That makes me happy to see how everything's looking on your end. But there is no pressure. So again, our goal is to provide meaningful work and for it to not be overwhelming to you or to your students. That's something that's just like, Kennedy really wants to make this as manageable as possible. So let me see what else we have here. So again, to recap, you can send me a photo or video of the PE and health activities or the art and music. It's not required though, just a message saying my student did this week for those subjects. And then on Friday, have them fill out the response form that says what they did. Questions. Alexa and Kendra, it is so good to see you on here. We missed you at our Zoom meeting yesterday. Hopefully we can see you next week. I'm doing great. This has been a lot of fun. I love challenges. I love trying to learn new things, and definitely is a lot of learning for students, for family, parents, and for the teachers. All right. Brandon's dad asks, for the math assignment this week, what is the daily lesson for fact fluency? I'm so glad you asked, Jason. So here's what I did. I went ahead and I added a new tool for students for fact fluency. And now, Jason, you don't mention on there whether you're meaning the online or the offline. Let me go to the learning grid. That'll be easier for me here. So online fact fluency. Perfect. Okay, so I talked about this on the Monday Dojo video, but and I wish I could show you on screen, but I also told all the students about it yesterday in our Zoom meeting. So on Hello ID, when your student is logged into a Chromebook, on Hello ID, the very last item on there is a program called Extra Math. Now it's at the very end because it actually starts with an X, not an E. So there's the Extra Math icon there. And if they are logged into Hello ID, they can click on that Extra Math icon, and that takes them to Extra Math. And I went ahead and I loaded in all of the students' Google email addresses and usernames and all that sort of stuff. That was what I spent Friday night and Saturday morning. It took about 3 hours, but I think it's a great tool, and so it was important for me to do that. So what I want you to do is have them try that out. They click on Extra Math, click on Sign In with Google. Since I already put that stuff in there, they don't have to enter anything in. Sign in with Google, and that takes them to an online fact fluency practice. I think it is it's a better practice tool than that Imagine Math facts that we have been using. It doesn't look as much like a video game, like you're kind of meandering through caverns and blasting walls and things like that. So it doesn't look as gamified, but I think the math practice itself is really solid. And plus the reports that I'm able to access to see what your students are doing, how their progress is coming along, way better with Extra Math than it was with Imagine Math Facts. Imagine Math Facts, the interface for teachers, sort of looked like we were trapped in about 1997. Everything was it was a weird place. Extra Math will be way better. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. I don't see anything else coming through here. Let me look at my talking points. I know I talked quickly. Hopefully that's okay. You can play this back and listen to it a sentence at a time if that helps. I will be closing up shop here in just a few minutes. So if you've got anything, Cora, hey, I'm so glad you're watching. If you have anything else as a question, please type that into the chat right now or over on Class Dojo so I can address that before we wrap up. And then again, like I said at the beginning, if you've got questions that we didn't get to today or you think of them later, how do you get a hold of me? Class Dojo. That's such a great way to do it. I think I've covered everything. Here we go. Does iReady report completed tasks report to you? Yes. A couple times a week, and definitely at the end of the week, I go into iReady and I look at the week's progress. I can see what your students have been doing. And if there's ever any sort of a concern, like sometimes if your student is going a little bit too fast through things, or if they get a certain concept, some errors on that, like they miss several questions in a row that are sort of the same concept, it'll give me a indication that, whoa, you need to touch base with that student. And so if I see that coming up between now and the end of the school year, I'll touch base with you, I'll touch base with the student. But yes, I do get to see those reports, and I look at that at the end of every week. And that is part of what is going into the report card. And again, the question, what is a report card going to look like? I don't know 100%. We are really trying to take all of our cues from the Oregon Department of Education, the school district, our principal, Mr. Attell, are sorting through those things, and then we get the direction from them as to what to do. So at this point, the big focus, like I said, is English language arts, math, having the at least 2 points of contact for attendance every week, and just continuing on with what we're doing. All right, let me see. Any other questions here? Cora's mom says, thank you for doing the Google video. I'm guessing probably about uploading to Classroom. That was so helpful. Absolutely. I love being able to find ways to get information out there. And I think the screencasting is a good way to do it. Being able to see stuff happen. I know I'm a visual learner, so that helps me a lot. So hopefully it does you as well. Okay, and then Cora's mom asks another question. Will the open house YouTube format be weekly? It's all very helpful. I am planning on continuing to do this. You know, we're getting good. Like we've got 9 people watching right now. I've got some thumbs up, some questions are coming in. With the chat working, so much more helpful, I think, than if it's just me talking. So I'm going to plan on continuing to do this. I had a really cool message from Brandon's mom at the beginning of the week saying how that 8 o'clock Class Dojo video is kind of a nice kickoff for the week. Kind of makes it feel like we're still in school, like we're getting ready for school, Monday morning, 8 o'clock. Let's see what Cosand's video says. And my response back was that I really agree. For me, it's so helpful to have a schedule, a routine. We don't have the bells that go off every 45 minutes like we do during the regular school year. So how do we have routine? Well, I think having these daily connections is a big help. So I will continue to do the Monday morning, 8 o'clock Class Dojo video. We'll keep doing Tuesday morning Zoom class, transitioning to Google Meet instead. I'll keep doing the Wednesday evening, 5:30 YouTube stream. And then Friday, we'll do the Google form that the students fill out saying what they did through the week. Let me see. Alexa and Kendra's mom turned in our work last week, but we're not sure if you got it. How do we know if you did? Okay, so a couple of things. In Google Classroom, if you turn in an assignment, I go through, I am going to make it a point to always make a comment. Every assignment that gets turned in, I'm going to leave a comment for the student, and it might just be something as simple as, thank you for turning this in, great work. Or maybe I'll ask a question, or maybe I'll give a little bit of guidance and support. And so whenever something is turned into me, within a day or so, I'll try to always do it within a day, but sometimes it might take a couple of days. But fairly quickly, you'll have a comment back from me, and then I will click return. And what that does, when the student gets an assignment returned to them, they'll get my comment, and that'll be their indication that I got it. So it's turned in. So check your Google Classroom, check your students' Google Classroom, and it should show what assignments have been turned in. And if it shows there that it's turned in, it actually will have a check mark and say turned in, then I've got it. All right. But I will go through Mrs. Rodriguez, and I'll make sure that the girls have all their things turned in for last week, and I'll send you a message about that. All right. Been going for almost 20 minutes. That was my goal, 20 minutes. Is there any other question that I can talk about or give you an answer to right now? Looking through here, my notes, I've covered everything. Any other questions coming from Dojo? I don't see anything. Anything else coming from the YouTubes? Don't see it there. So in about another 30 seconds, I will say good evening, wish you a happy Wednesday, and look forward to continuing to work together for good success throughout the week. All right, this is it. Last chance, people. We'll have a theme song next time. I'll get the guitar out. We'll do something. I want to thank you guys. I know this is a lot. You have so many things that you're having to navigate right now. Life is different. Jobs are different. Home is different. Everything is impacted by this. I know it's a lot to manage. I really appreciate that you're giving so much time, attention, and support to the educational aspect of this. I know that if you look at the hierarchy of the things that we have to deal with and attend to, school might not be very high on that list. I get it. And I don't want to make things heavy pressure or obligation or confusing. So I want to keep things as simple as possible. So thank you so much for being so connected and so attentive. Liam, Pineapple, I think that's kind of the way to go out. Hey, Mrs. Reed and Ashley, it's so good to see you guys. If you have any other questions following up, then please definitely send me a message in Class Dojo. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys again Monday morning, 8 o'clock on Dojo. Tuesday morning, Google Meet classes instead of Zoom. And then a Wednesday evening, 5:30, we'll come back to the YouTubes, and I'll see you then. Guys, you have a great evening, a great rest of your week. God bless you all, and I'll talk to you later.